Hi everyone, Bandanner here, I hope you're all doing well. So today we have another WARNO Devblog, and this time we are getting a look at the two new divisions. I kind of expected this was coming because Panzer's been teasing a few of those units over the last week. Obviously they have their usual welcome commanders. They hope we're all enjoying the latest patches and the fixes to some of the feedback they've been getting. And the rest of the intro is the usual platitude, so let's just move on to what else is happening. So today it's all about these two new divisions. They will be added to the pre-order pack but are free for all participants of early access. Now they say there's been plenty of speculation going around, but unfortunately, or fortunately for you Gen, this time the sleuths didn't catch on to the divisions that were being tinkered with in the workshop. They would like to welcome to the stage the US 24th Infantry Division Mechanized and the Soviet 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division. Both of these divisions are a mix of existing units, new variants, and some fresh units held in reserve for the upcoming Army General campaign. They will also feature their own slot cost and availability per category. We aim to make these divisions distinct in their playstyles. More on that below. So first up we have the US 24th Infantry Division Mechanized. Now, unlike most of the other American divisions featured in WARNO, the 24th Infantry Division wasn't stationed in West Germany, but across the pond in good old United States. Earmarked for duty in Europe in case of war, the formation itself wasn't a reforger division. That's the return of forces to Germany, by the way. Meaning it didn't have any pre-positioned equipment waiting for it in the Federal Republic of Germany. Instead, this division would travel with all the material on ships and would have taken a few weeks to reach the lines. For budgetary reasons, the 24th Infantry Division wasn't kept at full strength. It only featured 2 regular infantry and tank brigades instead of the usual 3. This means that the formation was kept at 60% strength. In case of war deployment, it would be reinforced by a National Guard Brigade, the 48th Mechanized Infantry Brigade, Georgia National Guard. The next subheading is a real-life example. A short intermission, but in real life when the 24th Infantry Division and the 1st Cavalry Division, another reinforcement formation with the National Guard Brigade, deployed for Desert Storm in Iraq in 1991. Both divisional commands decided not to take their part-time soldiers with them. They considered them unfit for duty. However, in our timeline to war, the Georgia National Guard will join the 24th Infantry Division in their duty in West Germany. All National Guard units will receive the reservist trait and no veterancy. This not only concerns infantry squads and weapons teams, but also vehicles, including Abrams tanks, Bradley IFVs, and the M109 self-propelled howitzer. To bolster the National Guard's morale, or perhaps keep them in line, an entire military police battalion will be attached to the division, featuring larger new command and combat military police squads. So the next subheading is the 24th Infantry Division Mechanized in-game. So what makes them stand apart from its closest comparison in-game, the 8th Infantry Division, which is also mechanized? Well, the 24th Infantry Division has been reorganized around the Bradley IFV, the National Guard detachment included. Likewise, the division has already transitioned in its entirety from the M60 Patton to the M1 Abrams, and was one of the few formations to use the M1IP Abrams during the Gulf War, but not the M1A1. This makes the 24th Infantry Division sort of the missing link between the 8th Infantry Division and the 3rd Armored Division. The division itself only receives the AH-1A Cobra as helicopter support, but the Florida National Guard will reinforce the division with an attack helicopter unit containing the AH-64A Apache. The 24th Infantry Division can call on strong air support, including a new variant of the F-15C Air Superiority Fighter with AIM-7 Sparrow missiles, as well as a brand new F-15E Strike Eagle. Oh yes, I do love the Strike Eagle. They say it will have a tremendous laser-guided bomb loadout. I should hope so, especially if it's got all the additional mounts on it from the conforming fuel tanks. These very capable aircraft are supported by F-4 Phantoms, including the Wild Weasel Seed variant and the F-111 tactical bombers. Sounds like they're going to have a lot of aircraft. Okay, let's move on to be more specific. What will the National Guard look like in-game? Well, as explained above, all the National Guard units will feature the reservist trait and be veterancy locked. The new vehicle units will include the National Guard M1 Abrams, the National Guard M109A2, the National Guard M151A2 Ito, the National Guard M2 Bradley IFV, and the National Guard AH-64A Apache. Most of the above vehicles will also get a new camouflage scheme based on the paint job used by the actual 48th Mech Infantry Georgia National Guard during the training exercises in the Mojave Desert in 1991. There will also be some new National Guard infantry units, be it recon, leader, or weapons teams, including manpads. They also deploy with reservist trait and veterancy locked. They are the National Guard Fire Team Leader, the National Guard Fire Team Dragon, the National Guard Fire Team Law, the National Guard Scouts, the National Guard M60 7.62mm, and the National Guard Stinger. They say the National Guard units were usually at the bottom of priority list for replacements, so they would go to war with older equipment. This includes the M16A1 assault rifles with smaller magazines, hence lower rate of fire, the M60 squad machine gun, the same here as it is in other places, the Dragon 1 ATGMs, the single ITO rather than the TOW 2, and the M14 battle rifle, and the Stinger A, etc., etc. The 24th Infantry Division will also include some other new units, including the M548 Armoured Supply Carrier, the MP Leader, a large infantry squad with leader, security, and military police traits, fielding a mix of M16s and M14s, but it lacks anti-tank. Military Police, a new large fire support infantry squad with military police trait, armed with the M16, M14, and 2 M60 machine guns, no anti-tank. There will also be the F-15C AA-2, as mentioned before, armed with 4 AIM-7M Sparrows and 4 AIM-9M missiles. The F-15E Strike Eagle, this state-of-the-art plane comes with 4 GBU-10 and 4 AIM-9 missiles. Next up, they finish off with a little section about the 24th Infantry Division in short. So one of the 24th Infantry Division's key features is that about a third of its strength is made up of National Guard units, making it the division closest to a reserve division as found in the other nations in WARNO. For instance, you'll get to choose between regular fire teams with an M2A1 Bradley or the less experienced but cheaper National Guardsmen fielding older, smaller arms in an M2 Bradley, both of the latter units featuring the reservist trait, obviously. The US 24th Infantry Division Mechanized will feature a mix of quality and quantity. Ample access to infantry and tank, but less promising in the anti-air and artillery tab compared to the 8th Infantry Division. The air tab, however, will prove to be more than capable. Okay gang, that is everything for the 24th Infantry Division. Let us move on to the Soviet 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division. The 27th was part of the Soviet 8th Guards Army. This strategic formation would be the one to strike first in any Warsaw Pact offensive through the Fulda Gap. Although this happened during the restructuring and subsequent reduction of forces, the 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division was scheduled to be reorganized by the end of the Cold War. The formation was designed as a testbed for Division 90 concept. This was a Soviet prototype order of battle, including an adapted table of organization and equipment. It would serve as a model for all Soviet divisions going into the next decade. Of course, this never came to pass. In our history, however, things took a different path, and the transition to a new style 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division never took place. So next they have a little bit about what the Division 90 concept was. So it implied a reduction in divisional strength, with 1 out of 3 infantry regiments being disbanded. This would mean minus 3 infantry and 1 tank battalion compared to the standard motor rifle division. But a single independent battalion equipped with BTR-80 wheeled APCs would replace one of the removed infantry battalions, so the total reduction would be 2 infantry and 1 tank battalion, and we will represent this in WARNO with the availability slots in each of these category and their costs. Reducing the manpower meant the 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division could get rid of most of its obsolete equipment, concentrating its soldiers on the most efficient pieces of material. This includes state-of-the-art new weapon systems available or given for testing, or indeed the latest improved variants of existing ones. Now we're going to get a list of everything that has been added to the game for the division by the looks of it, and I'm going to apologize in advance while I butcher the Russian language. Unfortunately, while I do try and look up some of these words, getting people with sensible pronunciations of them so I can replicate it, unfortunately, is very rare. So, with that said, you have been warned. The 2S3M1 Actasia, the same self-propelled howitzer but with the ability to fire the Centimeter CLPG, which is cannon-launched guided projectile. This capability results in a corrected shot with pinpoint accuracy. The division keeps the same number of 2S3 as other Soviet divisions, but half will be the new 2S3M1 variant. They will get the 2S29 Nona SVK, the same 120mm gun mortar as the 2S9 Nona, but mounted on a faster and more fragile BTR-80 chassis. The 2A36 Giant Sint B. This is a new 152mm howitzer entering service in the Soviet Army in the late 80s. Although restricted to dedicated artillery divisions or brigades, the 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division got to replace its older divisional D-20 howitzers with these newer pieces. The 2A45 Sprut, a 125mm tank gun used as a towed anti-tank gun, replacing the M12 Rapira 100mm. Let's just say that not all new equipment is always better. In this case, the new gun was unable to shoot 80 GM rounds, plagued with bad aiming sights and featuring limited range. The 2A45 Sprut does have the ability to fire the T80U's DU rounds. This means that the gun can still be a very nasty surprise for anybody getting too close for too long. Next up is the Konkurs M, and although no archive clearly states, the 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division welcomed the improved Konkurs M within our time frame. This upgraded variant was tested at the time and was also to be adopted soon after 1989, despite the fall of the Soviet Union. The new ATGM variant shares the same stats but improved accuracy and significant increase in penetration. The BRDM-2 Konkurs M, the dedicated ATGM carrier, like its predecessor, but fires improved Konkurs M as described above. Next up is the MTLB Strela 10 M3, the same vehicle as its predecessor, but with a missile that is more accurate, more powerful, and with extended range. And finally, the TOR. The 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division was one of the first divisions to receive the brand new SAM. The TOR would replace the OSA, improving on it in many ways. More missiles, higher accuracy, greater anti-helicopter range, and more resilience because of its tracked chassis. And we've created a special effect, visual and sound, to feature its specific vertical missile launch. The 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division also features a bunch of other changes, new weapons, unit variants, and more. A general change to the infantry weapons fielded by divisions means disposable RPGs replace the old RPG-7s. All the formation's infantry will be armed with either the small RPG-18 or the RPG-22 for engineers, scouts, and leaders, or the more powerful RPG-26 and heavy RPG-27 for BMP and BTR infantry. Although the division features some BMP-1, most of the 27th Guards Motorized Rifle Division's IFVs are the BMP-2 variants. Some dedicated assault versions have been included. The BMP-2 AG with an AGS-17 grenade launcher, and the BMP-2D, an up-armoured but lacking amphibious ability. The Mot Razvedka will also have access to the new Razv BMP-2. There will also be the BMP-2K and BTR-80K command variants. Finally, we will have attached a new aircraft to the division. This plane would only gain fame a decade later in real life, but it had already gone through testing and been approved for service in 1989. A dozen models had been built by this time. After the fall of the Soviet Union and the fact that the factory building the aircraft was located in Georgia, it delayed production by a decade. This plane is the T-8M, later renamed the Su-25T. This reshaped variant of the Su-25 was dedicated to anti-tank warfare, carrying 16 Vickers ATGMs, firing them in pairs in-game, as well as 2 anti-air self-defense missiles. Anyhow, some of the new equipment found in the ranks of the 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division were only cosmetic, with the division soldiers entirely dressed in the new TTSKO camouflage uniforms. All infantry and crew-served units will feature these new redesigned models. Note that all of the above same vehicle as predecessor will feature the new 3-tone camouflage paint job to set them apart from other units in the same series. So, in summary, as you can see, the 27th Guards Motor Rifle Division will have access to some of the latest hardware to be deployed in the Soviet Army. The division's major strengths will be strong infantry and potent artillery. Armor is basic, with all the tanks being the T-80BV variant. Hang on a minute, armor is basic with T-80BVs? Basic armor would be T-55s, maybe T-62s. In terms of slot availability and cost, it features powerful new variants and armoured vehicles, but with category slot availability, though better than 79th, below the 39th Guards. Artillery will have plenty of slots. Anti-air will likewise have good availability and very powerful medium SAM units, especially useful against helicopters. However, long-range heavy SAMs are lacking, and no cheap short-range AA except for manpads. Recon, tank, logistics and air are pretty standard, and the helo is rather basic. Eugen do go on to mention and talk about another community-made website called WARNO-armory.com. I'll let you look at that or read the devblog in your own time, because this is already getting very long. I think the salient points to mention is it's a lot like waryes.com, except you can also stick your deck in there and it will assess whether you've got too few CVs or not and things like that. And you can also see unit details of units which are not actually in any of the divisions, so ones that are like in single player or maybe just hidden in general. But that is everything for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all soon for some more WARNO.